everyone. I'm just going to be really clear with you guys. We're going to say our first names of the spokespeople that are going to be talking today, and no questions. So we're going to just say what we have to say, and then we will ask you to clear the exit way. So my name is Sophia.
I'm Nanook.
I'm Madeline.
I'm Gabrielle Fayant.
And those are...
I'm Amber.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And yeah, so those are our spokespeople. Are we good?
Sure.
Good. So yeah, we are peaceful.
We are peaceful.
We are unarmed.
We are unarmed.
We are for Wet'suwet'en.
We are for Wet'suwet'en.
And what do we do when the land is under attack?
Stand up, fight back!
What do we do when the earth is under attack?
Stand up, fight back!
What do we do when the water is under attack?
Stand up, fight back!
What do we do when Indigenous peoples are under attack?
Stand up, fight back!
What do we do when youth are under attack?
Stand up, fight back!
What do we do when matriarchs are under attack?
Stand up, fight back!
What do we do when the whole world is under attack?
Stand up, fight back!
Tahoe. So I would just like to thank you all for coming and thanking all of our allies that have helped us through this occupation that we have been holding in the Minister of Justice and Attorney General's department here. We have been standing with our Wet'suwet'en relations, and we are devastated to see the infringement of human rights in Wet'suwet'en territory. With that being said, the Minister has said that this is a domestic issue, that this is a provincial issue. Therefore, federal action cannot really be taken, and it's a problem of jurisdiction. However, Gabrielle here will explain why this is not the case.
So this is a federal concern, and it's directly a violation of the Royal Proclamation, the Constitution of Canada, as well as the Charter. Elected officials are willingly and knowingly violating Canadian law. And this should be a concern for all Canadians, that your elected officials are violating your laws. This is not just an Indigenous issue, this is a Canadian issue. So please contact your elected officials. So far, they have told us that they have no authority or power on any of these things. And that also can be a legal issue, elected officials lying to the public. On that note, we stand in that stance that the Royal Proclamation must be honored, that the Constitution of Canada must be honored, that the Charter of Rights and Freedoms must be honored, and if not, Canada is in breach of honor of the Crown.
Yeah. Also, to expand on that there are, human rights violations that are happening on Wet'suwet'en territories, and the Canadian government has said time and time again that reconciliation is a top priority for this government. Also, that a nation-and-nation relationship is the most important relationship to the Crown. Quite frankly, I don't see that whatsoever. So we came to call for Mr. Lametti's urgent action as Minister of Justice and Attorney General of Canada. First, to call on him to talk to Wet'suwet'en hereditary chiefs and the recognized leadership under their traditional governance systems. We also call on Minister Lametti to ensure that CGL, the RCMP, and other actors never enter Wet'suwet'en territory without the consent of the Wet'suwet'en hereditary chiefs. Given the escalating crisis of human rights violations that were ongoing, we called on Lametti to intervene in a very urgent time frame and indicated yesterday that a 24-hour time frame was needed for action. We were very surprised to hear Mr. Lametti claim, as Minister of Justice and Attorney General of Canada, he could not have made the decision to speak with Wet'suwet'en hereditary chiefs, and the 24 hours has now expired. Mr. Lametti has failed to take any actions. He has refused to engage in dialogue with Wet'suwet'en hereditary chiefs and watched and did nothing as unarmed Indigenous peoples were removed and arrested at gunpoint. RCMP are acting for enforcers for CGL. The RCMP exclusion zone, which was just removed yesterday, did exactly what it was designated to do and remove Indigenous peoples from their homelands while allowing foreign entities like pipeline workers onto their homelands. It was lifted once all peaceful individuals were violently removed from their homelands. Indigenous peoples and allies across Canada have announced reconciliation is dead. And reconciliation is dead. We say today that it was killed. This was never just about a pipeline. This was always about Indigenous sovereignty and recognition of Indigenous rights and title. Mr. Lametti, as Minister of Justice and Attorney General, is mandated to renew relations with Indigenous peoples, and he is mandated to promote reconciliation, and he is the highest person responsible for Indigenous justice.
I'm a white settler, appalled by the lack of respect for Indigenous peoples on their own lands. RCMP, on behalf of British Columbia and Canada, has forcibly removed Indigenous people from their land, which is unceded, meaning never surrendered, not part of Canada, and they are doing this to create or to continue the expansion of the fossil fuel industries during the climate emergency. This is colonization in 2020. I recognize this is tense and very complicated, that people have been inconvenienced and workers are affected. It's our inconvenience, but it's their human rights. Minister of Justice and Attorney General David Lametti has taken some steps to have the Cabinet meet with the Wet'suwet'en hereditary chiefs and asked the BC Attorney General to step in. This would not have happened without the powerful solidarity happening across the land and around the world. That said, this is years too late. We expected more decisive action given his role and the severity of the situation. This is not a quote-unquote Indigenous issue for other people to take care of. This is a settler colonial for Canadian issue for us to take care of. We have so much work to do. Unlearning and relearning, disintegrating and reintegration. I'm talking of settler folks. I call on everyone to educate yourself about settler colonial history, about the Royal Proclamation.
Indigenous peoples at gunpoint. Is that what you call reconciliation? Because I don't. Whether you are in solidarity with the Wet'suwet'en or one of thousands who have been affected by the solidarity actions across the country, we ask you to join us in demanding that the Attorney General of Canada properly fulfills his duties and obligations to uphold justice in this country in relation to Indigenous people's rights. Reconciliation is dead, and we will continue calling for real justice for all. We will continue to stand with the Wet'suwet'en.
So you guys going to meet with Minister
No
Lametti?
questions.
No questions.
And I would just like to say, with the lack of efforts made by Mr. Lametti and the Canadian government, reconciliation is officially dead. Thank you.
That is all. Thank you
Still
for
like
coming.
those two going to meet with
No
Minister
questions. We've asked respectfully for you to listen to their voices and to please
So
respect
you're
that.
asking us to leave?
Yep.
Yeah, no more comments.